been a heck of a week. Busy, just not enough time to get everything done. I had a lot of bottling to do this week. I think I've delivered like 82 cases of honey, bottled and delivered, which is crazy. And I've been trying to get my extraction done, which is just need time to get through it. And I had a side job that I had to do this week, and the kids are back in school, so I pick them up every day, which just shortens the day, complicates the day. But I've been able to get one or two 14-hour days and some 11-hour days, and this is going to be a big day. This is going to be a heavy lift day, but it's supposed to be 84 for a high today, which is really nice. It has been heat index of 105 to 110, and today it's going to be nice. So I've got Parker coming. We're going to feed some yards, and we're going to get probably my two biggest remaining yards, honey production yards, lifted up over escapes. That'll be heavy work. The boxes are very heavily propolized right now. I've got my boxes offset from the spring, so I've got to go all the way down, check queen right, make sure the queens are below excluders, get all these glued together boxes unstuck. So you're moving these heavy boxes 2 or 3 times, and it's just it's gonna be a heavy day, long day. Be glad when this chunk of work is over with. I get this group of honey extracted and then pull this next group in. And then after that, it'll just be the stragglers. You know, a few yards. I can probably pull 3 yards together and it'll make 1 load of honey. So we're making progress, but it's a lot of work to get there and a lot still to be done. August 10th, and we've got bone set and early goldenrod getting started. Bees will be on the pollen flow. Beautiful day today. Pulled honey from this colony last week, maybe 8 or 9 days ago. Gave them a box of foundation, and I think they just had one gallon of feed, and they've got almost all of these drawn out. Might have given them 2 gallons by now. I'd have to look at my feed schedule. So that's a good result there. That's really good. I'm getting some extra combs out of them and got quite a bit of honey. And so we had 2 feeders in there, so they definitely have had 2 gallons, and that's enough to draw that top box almost completely. And we'll give them 2 more gallons today, and that should just about finish the drawing out, but it won't finish them out for weight. So next time when I come back, I'll pull this feeder out and put 2 foundations down here, which they will recognize as being in the middle of the brood chamber. And that will encourage them to draw that, and then I'll give them another gallon. I'll get these 2 frames drawn, and then this entire top box full, and all we got to worry about is getting them heavy for winter. Just finished feeding this yard. Working on some pest and parasite management. So we're back at this yard to pull honey today, and there's no home site here, so every time I'm here and the field has been plowed, I'm looking for stuff. We found a mussel shell that probably came from the river up here. The river is nowhere near here. So whoever lived here long ago thought that mussel shell was pretty and brought it home. That's neat. Some melted glass here. So maybe the house burned, or maybe they burned it after it was abandoned. I don't know. There's enough old folks around, I could probably figure out who was here and what happened to them. We're losing those folks that know those stories real quick. There's not many left that are above 90. It's neat stuff. Piece of an old stoneware crock, probably. Parker, you got some treasures?
Yeah. Not sure what this is. Probably just glass.
Yeah, glass.
Some blue glass.
It's neat. Just wonder what their lives were like. They're a lot harder than ours are, I bet. So I've got a strange situation here. I've got a double medium colony that had a queen excluder on top. I know the queen was underneath because I put her down there. And she had 3 honey supers. And I'm here to set an escape today. And there's brood in the honey supers. Oh no, you know, the queen must have squeezed through the excluder. There might be a bent wire or something. So I'm digging through the hive. I find the queen. I've got her in my pocket. And I'm going to put her and her brood downstairs and then harvest the honey off. Pull the excluder off. We've got a queen down here too. So either there's a defect in this excluder that is allowing that queen to pass up and down through it, or I've got a double queen colony. I don't see any obvious defects in here. So I guess I better go through the bottom and, goodness, I don't know, see if I find another queen. If I do, I'm going to have to split them into 2 colonies. If I don't, I guess I'll just put her back in and see what happens. Bees being bees, they don't always do what you want them to. And things like this take 10 times as much time as most of these other colonies will. It's the little nitpicking, fiddling work. Well, sure enough, we've got a double queen colony separated by a queen excluder. There's the bottom queen and the upper queen is in here. Huh. So I have to figure out how to split them. I've never seen that before. All right, so I've got the queen in the bottom. I'm giving them another box, 2 gallons of feed. That should suck them up and get them working. I need to pull a drawn frame up as well. And then I'm going to put a lid on them. I don't have any bottom boards with me, so I'm going to offset this bottom box, put brood in it, make them an opening on the rear, and reinstall that queen, and then probably get 1 or 1.5 supers of honey off of them. Got to give them a feeder as well. Odd situation. I've offset this because I don't have any bottom boards in the truck, so I just offset that. That'll be their entrance. I've got all their brood down here. These other 2 boxes are honey from both of those colonies, double queen colony. So they'll come up here, they'll have plenty to eat. 2 gallons of feed and 6 foundations to draw. And then I'll put the bee escape on top of that and 2 supers on top of that. Come back in 3 days when I pull honey from this yard, and they'll have to be moved. That's one good plus to a flat lid, is you can do silly things like that. Make a bottom board when you don't have one just by setting boxes up on top of another colony. Can be handy sometimes. Those bees have already found that new entrance. Boy, that's a weird situation. I'll tell my wife about this and she'll, yep, I'll tell another beekeeper about it and they'll appreciate how strange this is. You can look at a lot of hives without seeing that. Oh yeah, this is a beautiful sight. 3 full honey boxes and somebody else lifting them. I did take it apart, but he's putting it back together. That hive did pretty good. Had 4 boxes on it. It filled 3 of them. Just ran out of flow. That's pretty good. So this hive was a breeder for me last year, and they've since requeened. I've got a green queen in here somewhere, but she's definitely got some of the traits that I'm looking for. It's all uncapped, recap, lots of it. It's pretty common for them to build the cells out like that. Textbook. It's all over this frame. They just opened that one up to check on it, and they just opened that one. So that's interesting. All these open spots, it may not be a bad brood pattern. They might just be removing a lot of the brood if it's infested with mites. It's good to see. It's the same hive I just showed. And I'm taking, it's hard to do this one-handed. I'm taking 3 supers off of them. Not all of those are full. The bottom one is completely full. I've got 6 frames. Gave them 6 foundations. I've got 2 1-gallon feeders up here in the top. So I'm gonna give them 2 gallons of feed, 6 foundations. Come back in a week, and if they've drawn all those, I'll pull one of these feeders out and give them 2 more foundations in the center of this box. And I'm gonna end up basically with another box of drawn comb out of them. I ran this one as a double medium for honey, and I think that is a slick system right there. I like that. I like having both those feeders in the top on the outer edges. Bees don't like to draw out here anyway. They like to work the center. So I think that'll focus them on these frames. There's 1 foundation in the center of this box. And then as they get these drawn, I'll pull that feeder out, put 2 frames in here and scoot those over. And get those next 2 frames drawn. End up with a feeder left in there permanently. I like that. Got some honeybees working this patch of primrose, evening primrose. Also got partridge pea blooming. I don't see anything working partridge pea but the bumblebees. Never see honeybees on it. Fall flow is getting started. Hives are bringing in some pollen. See some tall ironweed or giant ironweed already in bloom over there. Some goldenrod's getting started. I've seen a little bit of wing stem and frostweed. Bumblebees really like partridge pea. Back to pull honey supers today. When I got the escape boards in Saturday, this is Wednesday, I went ahead and did an oxalic acid treatment on this yard. And I've been looking at the boards, looking at the mite drops. Everything is looking okay. Seen a few, but no real problems. So that's good. I think this one had one of the higher mite counts of any that I saw. You can see one there. Those little oblong reddish brown shapes are mites. And this is one of the worst hives in the yard. That's not bad. So this strange hive that Had 2 queens in it. I forgot to bring a bottom board for them, so I'll have to do that sometime. But they seem to have found that entrance really nice. I've got an unplanned split there that's getting pretty big. That one that's on top of another one. I've got a swarm that I caught off of a tree over here in the bushes. I'll have to come in here one night and get these out of here. So I've been getting some questions that kind of surprise me. Sometimes I take things for granted, but I get a lot of questions recently on, with all the feeding I'm doing, how do I keep sugar syrup out of my honey? And the answer is very simple. This hive I've been feeding quite a bit. It does not have honey supers on it. This hive is a nuke that I made this year. I've been feeding it all spring, but it doesn't have honey supers on it. The hives that have honey supers on them have not been fed either since spring or since last year. My system is to get a nuke, get it to draw out 3 mediums, and then it turns into a production hive the following year. If I need to feed it in spring, if they're really lightweight, then I will. But once honey supers go on, they don't get fed. Now, hives that I'm pulling honey from, once this bee escape goes on, the bees can't get back up into the honey. So if they're lightweight down here when I'm pulling their honey away, I will feed them. And they've got honey supers on, but they've got a one-way baffle or one-way valve in the middle of the hive. So no syrup can get up above that into the honey supers. And honey supers are on for 3 or 4 days, and that's it. So it's really easy to keep syrup out of your honey. You just don't feed hives that are making honey. So I do have 2 nuke yards this year that went into a June flow, and both the yards made almost a super of honey. I harvested from one of those because they had not been fed for almost a week before we hit that flow. I was on vacation while the flow was going on. I came back and they had a full super of good honey. The other yard I had fed right before I left, and I thought that it could be tainted with sugar syrup. So that entire yard, I'm leaving all of that for them to winter on. I'm not harvesting any of it because there's a chance that it could be tainted. You can also taste sugar syrup that's been stored really easily if you check it. It tastes just like table sugar. Very distinctive. It's not that hard to tell the difference between that and the real stuff. So it's really not that difficult to keep sugar syrup out of your honey. You don't feed hives that are making honey. I'm feeding a lot of hives right now, but that's because I've grown from, 100 colonies coming into spring, and now I've got 230. So I've got and I topped out at 240. So I had 140 nukes that have to be fed a lot of sugar syrup to grow big enough that they can be production colonies next year. So yeah, I'm feeding a lot, but my production colonies haven't been fed again either since last fall or this spring.